And now it is time to kick off the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Look at all these guys coming in. Look at all these guys coming in right here. You know what? Unlike all the other battles we fought, we don't care. Hey folks, it's Pat here. Welcome back. Let's pick up this battle of the Philippine Sea and see if we can spot some Japanese carriers today. So if you didn't check out the previous video, it might be a good time to do so. If not, here we go. Let's get the situation set up. So we have Mark Mitcher up here with a string of carriers and heavy fast battleships, basically waiting for the Japanese to come at our transport fleets, which are busy. Well, not just quite yet, but soon. Yeah, really soon. Looking at these guys, we'll be bombarding Tinian 1 and 2 and invading Saipan right here. So, without further ado, let's just run this till the morning. We got a lot of nighttime here. Actually, you know, to tell you the truth, let's move everybody closer to the Japanese, shall we? Since we chewed up a whole bunch of land-based groups yesterday or during the day, let's go ahead and just move everybody a little bit closer, see what we can spot in the morning. Check these guys, make sure they're doing search planes everywhere. We don't need to do search planes in this direction on any of these because we already know where the Japanese are. And so we're just going to peel these off, so hopefully they bunch up a few more planes and save us a couple for strike capability in the morning. All right, here we go. Run till dawn. So now our battleships down here might show up at night and start bombarding these guys on Tinian, but they might wait till dawn to do so as well. And then again, remember, all of our transports are heading towards this guy right here, which is Saipan. And the 5th Amphibious Corps is going to drop off all of their Marines, all their Army guys, and really, you know, kick off a battle that will become legendary in Marine Corps history. So, and I mean, that's a good point to bring up, too, because the Marines, as we know them today, really developed in this battle. Well, I guess in this war, but, you know, at this point in time where they're not operating within the confines of any kind of, like, you know, protection from air or, you know, land-based bombers, things like that. What they're really doing is they're operating on their own, just with the Navy backstopping them. Okay, and so, I mean, this battle in particular kind of defines how United States carrier doctrine will go for until today. All right, so, I mean, we use carriers now. And here we are at 5 o'clock in the morning, no sightings. We're going to have a whole bunch of search planes just radiating out here. I fully expect the Japanese to pop up in here at some point in time today. But let's get these landings going here. But as I was saying, you know, carrier doctrine today is really about projecting power. And up until this point in time of the war, carrier doctrine was about hit and run, get in, get out, you know, do as much damage as you can. And now we're not going anywhere. We're staying. We're going to actually just, you know, we're gonna you know, stiff arm the Japanese fleet. We're going to punch them too once we find them. But really, you know, when it comes down to it, we're using our naval power here to actually take this island, Saipan, so we can turn it into an air base, so we can project power against Japan. And, you know, I'm not an expert on modern carrier doctrine and things like that, but at the same point in time, you know, it's got echoes of what we've done with carriers ever since, including like Korea and Vietnam and, you know, the first Gulf War. So, you know, like I was saying in the last video, this battle here, I mean, it's kind of boring to fight as the Americans. We'll see if we can make it a little bit more interesting, but at the same point in time, it also means that you know, U.S. carrier doctrine has changed fundamentally. So let's check out Turner here, and his AP group here is invading Saipan. So battleships are still heading towards Tinian, And Connolly is also invading Saipan. So we just got to let these guys park here for a while. Imagine this. I mean, this didn't happen historically. But, you know, I mean, you're talking about a Marine invasion happening in the middle of a storm right now. Maybe that would help them. I don't know, to tell you the truth. You know? So that's one more hour. Let's check our search planes here. So we should have search planes radiating out all the way this way. And the other thing that I didn't talk about in the last battle was submarines. So the United States traditionally deployed a lot of submarines in this battle, but it looks like we actually have a gap in submarine coverage over here. And historically, one of the submarines in this battle actually spotted the new Japanese carrier, which I actually haven't showed you guys yet. Let's take a look at it. Down here in the briefing screen, ships. It's this guy right here, the Taiho. All right, so this is a purpose-built Japanese carrier that, you know, they pinned a lot of hopes on this carrier. And I mean, it's a gorgeous-looking ship. But, you know, it just wasn't up to snuff, shall we say. Okay, so traditionally, I think they even say that in here, was sunk by a U.S. submarine. Yeah, it doesn't say, you know, necessarily how it was sunk, but it was sunk. U.S. submarine put one torpedo into this guy. And, I mean, in the beginning it looked like, it's just a torpedo, it'll be fine. But a couple hours later, like, ignited all the avgas and just the whole thing just exploded. And so you talk about all of Japan's, like, hopes for this battle just going down with one ship. And see, look at this. They're spotting us left and right. And you can't really tell whether or not they're spotting these groups or these groups, but we don't really care. We're just waiting for them at this point in time. So let's keep heading a little bit west here just to get everybody kind of in position to strike. And historically in this battle, carrier commander Mark Mitcher kept asking Ray Spruance. He's like, hey, turn me loose, turn me loose, turn me loose. Let me go find him. And Spruance didn't do that. He said, no, stay close to Tinian, stay close to Saipan, watch these guys up here in Iwo Jima and Chichijima. And he got a lot of flack for that because really the Americans probably could have shut this battle down a day or two earlier than they thought. But Ray Spruance was just being Ray Spruance. I mean, he was being extremely conservative. And, you know, that's entirely understandable because all of the Americans, you know, I mean, think about the carrier battles that they had before this. They were, even though they have all this really cool hardware and great planes and all this stuff, they're a little gun shy. You know, they weren't sure what the Japanese were going to cook up for them. You know, now historically we know that the Japanese were a little bit behind the curve, shall we say. But at the same point in time, they knew we were coming. Here comes a strike right here. See where he's going. It looks like they're heading towards the Lect group. And like I said yesterday in the previous battle, anything they send at us is just going to run to an absolute buzzsaw of cap. Look at this. These are Betty bombers. They have no shot, none, no prayer against this group, because these are the groups that are the most vicious, the most ready for battle. They have the proximity fuses. They have the Hellcat. They have everything they need. And so at this point in time, you know, you should see how the war has really shifted. You know, where the Americans before were like real hit and run kind of folks. And the Japanese were too, but at this point in time, the Americans are like, all right, give us what you got. Give us what you got. We're going to chew it up, and then we're going to take care of whatever's left. And we haven't had a single Japanese sighting yet. So it might be another night before we actually see something. These guys are all being invaded. I'm surprised that we actually haven't seen the bombardment missions come in here yet, because those battleships got to be close. They've got to be right there. Yep, so still getting pretty close. Oh, actually, you know, we took a hit on a carrier yesterday. What was it? Nahita Bay. Slight damage. So even that one torpedo that we took yesterday didn't knock that one carrier out. And you'd think a single torpedo would probably put a pretty good dent in a Jeep carrier, but apparently not. But so far we have spotted exactly nothing. And so I expect our search planes are on their return leg. Yep, they're almost all grayed out. Almost all grayed out. And look at this. They sent Hellcats out on these. These are Dauntlesses out here. And Helldivers. Helldivers is the Dauntless's big brother. Not a very popular plane, but at the same point in time, an improvement in some respects on the SBD Dauntless, which of course was a pre-war plane that just absolutely did great. And we saw that in previous battles as well. So look, we don't have any sightings yet. We don't want to get too far from these guys, but we don't want to move too far from here either. And so to tell you the truth, we're just going to set up a little carrier screen here and wait for the Japanese to show up. Now we do have to be a little bit careful just because the Japanese do have most of their major surface elements with us. And so if you take a look at the briefing screen here and look at the Japanese ships, so they have, you know, our old friends the Shokaku and the Zuikaku, the Hiyo and the Junyo, which are those two converted liners, the Taiho, which is their brand new carrier, their escort carriers here, this one in particular, and this one, the Chitose, was originally a seaplane tender, but they decided to put a deck on it, rip off all the other stuff, and turn it into a light carrier. But battleship-wise, they got the old-school battleship, the Nagato, which would actually survive the war, and we have both of the big girls here, the Yamato and the Musashi, along with the Congo and the Haruna, spooking around here somewhere. So we got to be a little bit careful that we don't run into them tonight. So tell you what, let's take that battleship group, and as far as orders go, let's put them on forward cover. That'll put them out just a little bit ahead of our carriers, and we'll see if we can get a battleship fight going here. I'm not optimistic. I think of all the times, and I haven't played this battle that many times, but of all the times, I've never had that happen where we actually had a surface engagement between, you know, the U.S. fast battleships and whatever's, you know, the Japanese can put up. But we'll just see. Maybe we'll get a little bit lucky. I don't know if luck is the way that you would put that. But we got a nice screen here, ready to go, waiting for them in the morning. And in the meantime, the Marines here are, you know, invading Saipan as much as they can. I mean, the Battle of Saipan was particularly bloody. And you have to understand, at this point in the time of the war, the Japanese had kind of shifted their strategy because they blew out as far as they could into the Gilberts and the Caroline Islands, and then all the way down into the Solomon Islands and stuff like that, and basically tried to entrench everything that they had. And so they spent a lot of resources building up the defenses of these places. And Saipan, along with the one in the Gilberts, Tarawa, were just absolutely horrific battles. If you were a United States Marine infantryman or rifleman at that point in time and you had to invade the beach, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And like Tarawa is a classic example. So we've lost like some of the major. So 5 o'clock in the morning, we're going to radiate out search planes here, and we're just going to wait. But that was just an absolutely like wake-up call for the Marine Corps and the Navy in particular at the time, because it was just, I mean, it's just like the Marines had to fight yard by yard, all right, in order to actually like root out all the Japanese. And unlike, you know, like the Germans, the Japanese don't surrender when they're beat. You know, there's no such thing as being defeated. You know, famously, like, you know, there were guys in the Philippines who didn't surrender for 20 years, 30 years after the war was actually over, you know, because, I mean, it just wasn't part of their psyche. And so this turned into a really vicious, brutal war at this point in time. But we still haven't seen the Japanese fleet. We got a lot of search planes out here. they've got to be coming up here pretty soon, but you know, it might be a 3-day battle here. We're just going to go ahead and run this until we spot something, see if they actually send out any more land-based attacks. Notice we haven't had any of those down here, and that's because our cap yesterday and the day before just chewed them to pieces. There's probably no launchable planes out of any of these bases anymore at this point in time, because they just absolutely ran into our cap, and you know, I mean, none of them made it back. So, but again, you know, just going with the theme of this battle, that's just the way this battle kind of worked. Now we are way further east or west from where Race Bruins actually wound up in this battle. But if we don't spot anything soon, we might actually start moving a little bit further west just to see. Because there we go. There we go. We got one strike coming down here. And these are probably one or two of the squadrons down here that, you know, I mean, just look at it. It's just, you know, it's not even fair, man. Let's go ahead and start moving these guys a little bit further west, just because we know the Japanese fleet is coming from that direction. So again, the Hornet, the Bunker Hill is bunched up on the Lexington group. Hornet, we can go ahead and scooch out here, and the same thing with the Essex group. I was doing a little research on some of the carriers in this battle here, and you can actually visit quite a few of them. So the USS Hornet, the Lexington, there we go. We got like a run on the Lex, run on the Indiana there, and these are just zeros coming out of nowhere. You know, again, they're all shot down. So we've probably already destroyed probably about 100 to 150 Japanese planes, and we just have to keep probing a little bit further west until we actually spot that fleet and see. I mean, you know, it's theoretically possible they could slip between us here and there, but I doubt it very much. In fact, let's check these fleets over here. They're sending out search planes as well, so we don't have to worry about that too much. So we got probably search planes up everywhere. Let me just double check that here real quick. Yeah, we got tons of them. We got this entire radius of search planes out here, and we haven't spotted a single thing. Meanwhile, the Marines are doing their thing on Saipan. Kind of surprised those battleships haven't actually showed up with their shore bombardment missions yet. But I'm sure they're not hurting. Well, they're hurting the Japanese, not us. So we'll just run with this here a bit. Let's go ahead and run it till dusk. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get a sighting in here. But again, this battle is just, you know, it's the American Armada. We have all of the advantages. The only advantage we don't have is that we don't have any home turf here, but we've already shot down all the planes that they could actually like send our way. So push comes to shove, you know, we've taken all their advantages. We'll see if they actually show up with some carrier planes here soon. It's 1900 at night, so let's go ahead and peel these guys back just a little bit so we don't get too far away from our escort groups. But let's go ahead and bunch up some of these carrier groups here as well, just so that they're all fairly close. And of course they know where we are, but again, we don't care. We don't care. So let's go ahead and run this. Nothing. Check our search planes, make sure all our birds are getting back. Yeah, they're all slowly getting back. They're all on the inward leg. And that's what it means when they're grayed out like this. They're all heading home. Of course, landing in the dark is not fun, but we'll go ahead and run this till dawn and see what happens in the morning. So they still have a pretty good idea of where we are, and that's okay. I mean, really, it doesn't really matter. We don't care about being sighted anymore. And so that's what makes this battle distinctly different than the previous ones, where it's all about like you know, who spots who first and who gets the first strike off. But now we have such strong defensive capabilities that we don't care about that anymore. We really don't. Our cap is great. In fact, we might put up a little bit more cap in the morning, just in preparation for that first strike. Because, I mean, again, the Japanese carriers at this point in time, they did rebuild their air group. And the few veteran pilots that they had, they, went back to Japan, trained up the new guys, and, put them on the new carriers and, the old ones too, the Shokaku and the Zuikaku. But at the same point in time, it's just not the same as the Americans. I mean, it's like shocking that at this point in time in the war, the Americans could spare their best pilots, okay, and send them back, to Florida to train guys. All right, on these carriers, which we still have a ton of cap on each one. We haven't lost any planes on any of these groups. There we go. We lost 2 right there. Probably guys coming home late at night. But you know what? We really just don't need to put up any more cap on this one. We're ready. Let's find them. Let's find these guys. And so we're going to radiate out search planes again from our picket line of fleet carriers here, Task Force 58. And if the Japanese show up, we're gonna go after them. All right. And if they're closer to us than we think they are, who cares? They'll launch a strike. We're gonna just munch that strike down, and we're gonna chase it back home. So, it's tough. I don't want to be down on this, but at the same point in time, you also there we go. Look at that. We got strikes. We got targets. All right, let's break this. Here we go. All right, time for a fight. I mean, it only took a day and a half, but here we go. Let's see what we got on our sightings. Carriers, yes. Carriers, yes. Carriers, yes. This is the only one with 2 reports, so we're fairly positive that we have a sighting there. So it's 6:50 in the morning. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something that you do not do in the rest of this game. We're going to head towards the enemy, and we are going to destroy them. We're going to bunch all our carriers up here. We're going to build a little nest. We're going to let them come at us. We're going to up our cap in each one of these groups to about 2/3 of our total planes. So, and we're going to wait for them to hit us. They might get a couple bombs on our carriers. Cool. We don't care at this point in time. We can take the hits. We are ready to go. And so this represents a very different change in tactics from the things that we've done before. But right now, they know where we are, we know where they are, and we are just going to let them come and absolutely decimate their entire air group. And follow them home. So, I apologize here for the slowness in getting all these guys up. I'm just trying to save about maybe a dozen or half a dozen planes on each one of these carriers to send out as escorts, because ultimately the escorts won't matter if we just absolutely crush whatever they send towards us. I mean, whatever it is, we'll absolutely overwhelm all of it when we get there, even if we're only sending about 1/3 of our fighters out there when push comes to shove. And even these escort carriers, most of them have Avenger squadrons on them. So let's go ahead and run this. We got a whole day of daylight. We are very, very close. We're not that close. I mean, we're close enough to launch a strike. More importantly, we're close enough to absorb a strike from them. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to keep running with this until we see that Japanese strike. Then we're going to fuel arm everybody, and off you go. Here comes our first strike. And now it is time to kick off the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Look at all these guys coming in. Look at all these guys coming in right here. You know what? Unlike all the other battles we fought, we don't care. We're gonna just absolutely chew these guys up. Look at this. Nope. Nope. And nope. Don't care. These are Jills, the new Japanese torpedo bombers. Don't care. Here's a couple zeros coming in. Don't care. So here's Judy's. Again, great looking plane. Totally ineffectual. Don't care. Zeros. Don't care. Wasp. Judy's. Don't care. Monterey. A couple zeros coming in. No, don't care. And Bunker Hill. Don't care. Oh my god, it's just like so unfair. This is so easy mode here, man. So, but we're going to get a strike off probably by about 11 o'clock in the morning. So, there we go. Don't care. Do not care. So, nope, don't care about you either. And, you know, that just, it goes to show, you know, I mean, the Japanese doctrine for the years leading up to this was all about the decisive naval battle. This is their last shot at it. And, you know, there's some vowels, old school vowels, running on the Enterprise and nothing. But old school Japanese doctrine was the decisive battle. Let's pull all the fleet together. Let's get them all together. Their entire fleet was built around this idea. And, you know, the Americans were just like, okay, we've got this beat before we even start. And, you know, many brave Japanese pilots. I just can't imagine flying through this stuff. I mean, not only do you have Hellcats on your tail who shot down half your buddies before you got here, but then you just run into this wall, this storm of flak and steel. You know, it's bravery at its best, but it's futile. It's absolutely futile. And yeah, I get this. This guy's just a little digitized dude here, but you can kind of like think about what it was actually like trying to drive in or fly into a battle like this. You know, full of confidence and full of, like, you know, spit and vinegar and all the stuff that you learn from the people who bombed Pearl Harbor and whatnot. And, you know, to die for the Emperor in this way is, you know, hey, look, they got a hit on the Lexington. Cool. I guess. You give our damage control crew some practice. So, but when it comes down to it, oh, okay, here we go. We got a full flight here. There we go. There's a hit on the Monterey. Okay, so we've taken 2 hits on carriers so far. San Jacinto takes a hit, so that's 3 hits on carriers. All right, so let's see if the Iowa takes a bomb. There you go, right on the fantail. Ooh, not number 2 turret, and on the bow there. So maybe they're actually punching through some of our stuff here. But already the Japanese have done massively better here in our game of Carriers of War than they did ever in this actual battle. So, and these are cool. These are Mertz, so level bombers. Japanese went back and actually redesigned a bunch of their planes and basically upgraded versions of their previous planes. But we'll run this here a minute or 2 more and actually take a look and see how bad the damage is. But the thing about it is, and there's a hit on the Cabot. The thing about this is that here we go, Kates, old school Kates, you know, who were at Pearl Harbor, make a run here on the Cabot. We might actually lose the carrier if we're not careful. Enterprise, who's taken so many bombs at this point in time, they don't even care. And all those Kates are donezo. But old school, you know, planes that were there at Pearl Harbor just can't stand up anymore. And look at that, and they're all gone. Let's run it 5 more minutes, see if we have another couple guys here. He's going to try and get in here. Nope. Nope. And one more just to see. And donezo. And absolutely donezo. All right, so let's take a look. Everybody's okay here. That was the Cabot, right? No damage. No damage. No damage. No damage. Bunker Hill, no damage. No damage. Monterey, no damage. Cabot says no damage. Lex, no damage. No damage. No damage. Slight damage on the San Jacinto. And no damage on anybody else. Let's check the status screen on these guys just to take a look. And nothing there. Lex has got a little fire. San Jacinto's got a little fire, but even she has damage control of 4, fire control of 5. Well, damage control is what we're interested in. 4. Lex has damage control of 5. And I think they got a hit on a battleship here. The Iowa, okay, has damage control of 6. So they're going to get those fires out here pretty quickly. Let's go ahead and run this just a couple more minutes just to make sure there's no more strikes. And looks like we're good. All right, folks. We're going to go ahead and call it right here. So we've weathered the first Japanese strike here on the Battle of the Philippine Sea. They are in range. We are ready to go. We have all our carriers up and ready, and we are going to hit them as hard as we possibly can and knock Japan out of this war. But that'll have to wait for the next video. So I hope to see you there. Take care now. Bye.